The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Elizabeth Farmer, and I will be the moderator. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you joined the audio via phone, please be sure you entered the PIN number to enable audio control. If you did not enter the PIN number, you may find it now by going to the audio section of the control box on the right of your screen. You may ask questions at any time by entering them in the chat box. All questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Today's event is Innovations Driving Car Rentals. Our presenters are Sean Ryan and Nick Weinberg. Sean is Corporate Rental Sales Director for Enterprise Holdings, Inc., EHI, the company that owns the National Enterprise and Alamo brands. A 19-year veteran with the company, Sean manages a team of 20 sales executives, as well as overseeing the rideshare and exotic car collection. Nick first came to EHI in 2005 as a management trainee down in Tallahassee, Florida. Soon after, he relocated to the D.C. area and began to climb the ladder, and then 4 years ago, he made the switch from operations to sales. Today, he's a senior business rental sales executive serving both corporate and government clients in the $75K to $1.5 million range. His name is probably familiar to many of you. So welcome, Nick and Sean. And Nick, if you'll give me just a second, I am going to make you the presenter. All right, there you go. You may share your screen and begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I do appreciate it. I believe in talking to Sean Ryan, he wanted to start off with a few words before I went into the full presentation. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to speak now, and then I'll go ahead and get started.
I just wanted to...
Hi, Sean.
Hello. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending. We wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you. Enterprise Holdings is a big supporter. Work very closely with Travelon. We are excited about this opportunity to update you on the car rental industry. There's a lot of changes that have happened over the last couple of years that if you're not in it every day, it can be very overwhelming. And we put together a nice PowerPoint today to share with you. Please let us know if you have any questions as we go through. We'll be happy to answer them. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you, Sean. And definitely think we put together a great program for you all today. There's kind of a quick agenda of some of the topics that I want to discuss during the course of today's conversation. I'm going to start with an update on the rental car industry, some of the things that we've seen going on globally and here in North America. I'll go to the big question we get asked very frequently about ride-hailing like Uber and Lyft and people in that market and how that might be affecting the rental car industry. I want to talk a little bit about some changes in technology that you're going to see over the next couple of years throughout all of the providers. And then we'll get into an in-depth discussion about creating an actual corporate managed rental car program. Following up with evolving that existing partnership with your provider into a transportation solution that works across your entire company's needs, and then end on any questions and answers that might come as a part of the overall conversation. Before I jump into full industry updates, I do want to just provide a very quick background on Enterprise and why we do feel that we are capable of giving this type of program so you understand where we're coming from. We are the single largest car rental provider in the world today, whether you measure by cars or by number of locations or employees. But most people don't realize that we are actually a startup. We are still owned by the same family that started us in 1957 with one location and 12 cars. It was started by a man named Jack Taylor, who was a World War II fighter pilot and flew planes off of the USS Enterprise, which is where we've got our name. The Taylor family has been an amazing family for all of us to work for and has done an outstanding job in their company, and you're going to see some of their impact on the industry as I go forward, but we're quite proud of our company and their success, and hope that in the course of this conversation you might be able to get a few takeaways on how we can be great partners as well. With that, I want to talk a bit about the global industry and what's going on in the world today. First, let's provide a quick snapshot on the global car rental market. People don't really realize how large the global car rental market is. Across the entire world, it's a little over a $60 billion a year industry. The vast majority of travel, especially business travel, is focused in the United States, Canada area. The next is what we call ROW, or rest of world, and then Europe makes up just under 16 billion. It's developing countries, China, Japan, Australia, and South America pulling in at almost $19 billion in total revenue. Talking from a provider standpoint, a little bit of a breakdown in what market share looks like. There are three major competitors in the United States market. They are us, Enterprise Holdings, which is the parent company that owns Enterprise Rent-A-Car, National Car Rental, and Alamo Rent-A-Car. Next in line would be Hertz, which also owns the Dollar and Thrifty brands, and then Avis Budget, which operate together on those two. We are about half the industry on a global level. Fixed Car has a small amount in Europe. Europe Car is the largest outside of the big three. And then mom and pops and smaller car rental providers make up about 37% of the overall market. From a North American standpoint, you can see how much our three big companies are impacting the market. Enterprise Holdings is by far the lion's share largest, operating at just a little over 48% of the United States and Canadian market share. Most people don't realize that. Oftentimes I do end up walking into companies and asking who the largest provider is, and they tend to say one of my competitors. But as you can see from a market share standpoint, we're more than them combined, with about 6.3% of the U.S. market being made up of a conglomerate of other smaller car rental providers. When you take that out of revenue and start looking at it in other metrics, you can really see some stark differences. This is the North American rental car industry by fleet. You know, Enterprise Holdings, just over 1.1 million vehicles in fleet. Hertz and DTAG sitting just under 500,000, with Avis Budget pulling in at about $365,000 vehicles in fleet. In terms of overall locations, there's quite a lot across the country. Of course, Enterprise Holdings pulling down about 6,200. Hertz DTAG about 5,400, Avis Budget pulling about 3,250. That's the industry from just a snapshot, what it looks like across the world in the United States if you were to take a picture. A lot of the questions that we tend to get is, okay, so what's your industry doing? How is it evolving? What's next? And this is what our prediction is for the industry moving forward. North America, overall, we would expect business travel to be relatively flat. Canada is going to be a little bit back, balancing U.S.'s slight increase. But overall, we don't expect you to see much change in the overall rate structure or business level throughout North America. Outside of corporate, on a retail level, for anyone who's traveling for vacations or personal use, I would say to expect an increase in retail rates, but corporate rate structures are relatively similar. Latin America is rapidly evolving. We're seeing an increase, especially from the larger car rental companies, primarily focusing on larger industries that already exist in Latin America that might have travel that matches with the provider networks that we have established in that market. Europe, Middle East, and Africa is definitely increasing. The base rates themselves are not changing that much, but as technology advances in that market and more options for ancillary products are becoming available, we're seeing higher rate structures on the add-ons and offerings around there. And ride-hailing, Uber and Lyft, will increase within the overall car-hailing service across the board. To get into some specifics on Canada, large portion of their economy is driven by energy with decrease in oil prices and a slightly unstable the Canadian dollar. All of the businesses we've talked to are looking at a potential decrease in Canadian business travel, about 2% across the board. Some of that is including leadership asking for their companies to have a tighter control on their travel program, some push towards travel alternatives from rental cars, a little bit on fewer travelers, and then the rest is mainly economic driven. That's what we're seeing for the trend in 2016 within the car rental industry across the board. There is always a question in any of the meetings that I have with any of the accounts out there where looking at the changes in technology and the disruptors like Uber and Lyft, how is that affecting us? So to get to the big question, I want to talk a little bit about ride-hailing and rental cars, what the landscape looks now, what we're seeing in terms of trends moving forward. Most people don't realize it, but this is an early study in 2015 showing what the revenue breakdown is by business travel coming out of airports. Rental car this is by revenue, not transactions, and rental cars still hold the lion's share. We're running at about 36% of all the revenue from business travelers coming out of airports across the country. Taxis are pulling in about 24%, but they have taken a pretty significant dip. Chauffeurs at 13%, ride-hailing and airport shuttles at about 11%. Now, that doesn't look like a lot, but considering ride-hailing hasn't even existed for more than 2.5, maybe 3 years, an 11% market share capture in this is actually pretty astounding. Then public transit and friends are making up the other portion of overall travel. And these are the people that we're seeing starting to adopt to this technology. About twice as many American men tend to use Uber and Lyft versus women. Closer to the millennial age, the 25 to 44 age bracket tends to gravitate towards ride-hailing at a faster rate than the 45 to 64 age bracket. Our area, the Northeast and parts of the Midwest, are more prone to staying with rental cars. The West, specifically California, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, tend to be adopting towards Uber and Lyft at a faster rate. I don't think anyone's too surprised by that. Urban American travelers tend to be using Uber and Lyft at about twice the rate as rural American travelers. Again, a lot of that's market-driven and availability. And this is all data that I've got from Skift.com, which did a survey on this. So knowing all of that, does it hurt the rental car industry much? From the numbers, in 2015, Uber and Lyft did pass rental cars in terms of number of transactions for business travelers. The myth, this has caused a large decrease in revenue in the rental car industry. In actuality, actually only caused the decrease in transactions that for us are already incredibly high overhead, which is allowing us to focus a little bit more on the core business traveler who uses rental cars more for a business trip and try and focus on increasing their experience. I'm going to pause for a second because I believe Sean wanted to jump in at this point as well.
Yes, thank you, Nick. At a recent managers meeting, our annual conference, we had a survey that was produced from us, and it was from an Avis CEO that showed studies that they did on ride-hailing and how it has affected the car rental industry. They ran reports for under 5 hours, they ran reports under 12 hours, and they ran reports under 24 hours. And their surveys came back that said that they have not seen a decrease in their number of rental car transactions. They then looked at it for the urban areas, the cities, and looked at where both Uber and Lyft are very high in transactions, and we still, if they did see a tick, it was a slight tick downward, but not much. So as far as has it affected the car rental industry, we have not yet seen that. Now we are running reports on how does it affect the hourly car rental, does it affect car share, does it affect Zipcar. Today we do not have answers on that. The results right now show that it hasn't, but it is definitely affecting the taxi industry. Those that would either use car service or use taxis in the past, we are seeing a downtick in their transactions.
Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned on the high overhead transactions, this is more anecdotal than it is hard evidence, but what I'm hearing in talking to the managers of airports around the country is that the people that are adopting the Uber and Lyft away from rental cars are people that are flying in at like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock on a Monday morning, and they're flying right back out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday afternoon. And for us, the ability to move in all of those vehicles, clean them, gas them, get them ready, put them on the line for somebody who's going to be in them for what equates to 5 to 6 hours is really a lot of work for not a lot of overall revenue, which is why when we look at this and say, hey, we're going to focus on the core business traveler, we're really looking at the people who are flying in and they're in a vehicle for a day, 2 days, or what corporate average is for a business traveler, 3.5 days. And those people just aren't adopting to the Uber Lyft environment like some people might think. Still, they are a disruptor. And with any disruptor in any industry, it's something you have to keep an eye on and pay attention to and make sure that your industry is continuously evolving. And we're doing the same thing. We're trying to make sure our industry is able to keep up with the technologies and advancements that these companies bring to the table. So that kind of segues into the next section I'd want to talk about. What can you all as corporate partners expect, and what can your travelers expect to see in terms of technology upgrades within the car rental industry? And it's really kind of a change in mentality across travel, and not just within car, but across the board. The overall idea in travel for a long time was make it easy and use your resources to lead the traveler through the process. So signage, directing, walking them through step by step. The idea was to make it so the traveler didn't have to put in any effort to determine their own path. With the change in the way that people think and travel and handle technology, the new mindset is to how to make it easier for the traveler to lead themselves. The first step in that is mobile apps. Similar with Uber and Lyft on theirs and what they can do, car rental companies are utilizing the power of the technology that we keep in our pockets to make it easier for the traveler to control themselves and their itineraries and their trips. Mobile apps are a big deal within this industry. Some of the mobile apps that we've put together, I've got a picture of them on the screen, and some of the benefits, you'll see similar ones within the competitors, but their travelers are now capable of managing their entire loyalty profile from their phone, being able to use their phone as a virtual membership card, being able to handle pickups and drop-offs by geocoding different branches across the country and making it easy for them to identify where they can get a vehicle, allowing them to redeem their loyalty perks from their phone, even accessing roadside assistance in the instance of a breakdown or, heaven forbid, a potential accident. All of this is allowing the traveler to have control and the traveler to have power. And in the freedoms that they're getting on this, we're seeing a higher level of satisfaction and a higher level of overall adoption. Outside of the phones, we're increasing technology on the web, in our stores, even in our cars. First thing, everybody across the industry, especially us, has redesigned our websites to become sleeker and easier to use, more graphical interface systems, allowing people to get full access to their loyalty programs and change settings and communication styles, all within the technology that they have at their disposal. Our branches are starting to move away from old desktops and tower systems and into mobile tablets, making it where people no longer have to even go to a counter at an off-airport environment. The ability to interact with somebody where they are, increasing transaction time, decreasing friction, making the overall experience faster and easier. We're adopting in-car technology. Of course, we have Bluetooth like most cars do. Travel Tab, which is a new program that allows you to get technology to make it easier while traveling. The newest ones coming onto the market in 2017 is a whole fleet of vehicles that adopt the new Android Auto and Apple CarPlay programs, allowing your phone to be an additional processor that plugs directly into the info management system of any car, helping you upload maps, music, text messaging, you name it, from your phone directly into the vehicle. Some proprietary enterprise-only benefits include virtual exit. Our mobile apps are actually allowing you now at National Car Rental to go to the lot, choose your car, turn on your phone, and assign the vehicle that you just picked directly to your reservation without you having to ever talk to anybody. By the time you get to the exit booth, they check your ID, verify you did it right, and open it up, allowing a 30-second transaction time. We've also enhanced to a single loyalty club that operates across both of our brands, the Enterprise and National brand, allowing travelers to earn points and benefits across the board, giving them the freedom to choose the provider that best suits their interaction without feeling like they're limiting their ability to earn the recognition they deserve. So, talking about the industry and the technologies that we're putting in place in order for travelers to be able to have a smoother and easier process, from a corporate standpoint, the question comes up of how do I make sure that my company and my travelers get access to these features and benefits and have the ability to have such a smooth interaction. And that really comes into the creation of a corporate car program. So this kind of flows a little more into what Sean and I specifically handle, which is the creation of relationships with companies, allowing them to manage their travel program in car in a way that's going to increase traveler satisfaction while decreasing overall costs. And a corporate car program brings a ton of benefits. The financial strength allowing you to end up decreasing your average daily rate and increasing your capture of your specific car policy, allowing you to control what your travelers are able to purchase and not purchase so that the revenue you're spending really matches with the culture of your travel program. Globalization, so you don't have to just focus on North America and then look at something totally different for Europe or South America. You can actually look at your travel program holistically across the board for car and negotiate one agreement that works everywhere in the world. We also prioritize access to vehicles and technology for our corporate customers. Corporate Emerald Club customers get access to 2017 model vehicles before anybody else. They get access to new technology upgrades before anyone else. We have the ability to create new billing solutions within our industry only for corporate customers, and then we also work with Travelon to feed back full reporting data back to any of our partners so that they are open and transparent and can see exactly what their travel program is doing. A typical corporate account, somebody who looks at this type of program, has a few metrics that kind of signify, yes, this is something we should consider. They're typically in a vehicle anywhere from 1 to 5, but averaging 3.5 days overall. Usually they're driving about 65 miles a day. Maybe 5% of their transactions are one-ways. About 4% tend to be GPSs, and that goes down more and more as adoptions for smartphones go up. A lot of people pay by credit card, though billing is available. We encourage as many corporate partners as possible to work with Travelon in order to increase GDS bookings, increase overall duty of care and reporting, and just streamlining of their travel program. So not very many tend to book through web. A large number of them tend to spend most of their revenue in a few top cities. And by creating the corporate program, they're able to designate a primary vendor for rental vehicles and be able to mandate a travel policy that directs to preferred suppliers and allows them to better control what their travelers are doing. When you're looking at a corporate program and you're considering putting one in place for your company, there are definite things that you want to take into consideration. Even if you already have a program and you're looking at renewing it, these are important things to consider. Oh, sorry, I missed one slide on there. The preparation for change. If you are going to look at getting into a corporate program, there are a few things you want to do to prepare before you actually get into the negotiation. Research the car rental market. Have a good idea of who's out there, who you want to look at as a potential provider and what benefits they bring to the table. Talk to other companies out there. Make sure you see what they're doing that they like, what they wish they would change. Work with Travelon. Get feedback from them on what they're seeing in the industry. Request actual data from any existing suppliers that you have so that you know exactly where you're spending your money, at what cities, and what your rental habits are. Talk to your customers, get information on anyone who has a loyalty program and what their status level is. Talk to the top travelers to see what they like and don't like when renting vehicles. Consider the cost versus price questions, which I'll touch on in just a second. And this is actually kind of important. Be prepared to make a change from your current provider if you're actually going to go out on there, because the number one thing that we see that causes somebody to not be able to capture the full benefits of a corporate program is being afraid of the cost of change. But be prepared to make that shift, and you'd be surprised how much it can be an easy and smooth transition for you. And this is what I was touching on earlier, things that are often overlooked in a car rental program. Most people tend to focus on kind of the 60% of the overall cost of a rental vehicle. Things like the base rate, city rates, mileage fees and one-way fees, how much per week, how much per month, how much for the insurance, things of that nature. A few things that people don't think about: taxes and fees. Is there below-the-line fees being added on to the bill that are increasing your out-the-door costs? Are you getting the best base rate, which means you're not paying unnecessarily more in taxes? Is it cheaper for you to go to an airport or non-airport location to save on certain fees? Are you able to control certain aspects through business practices of your partner? Are you able to get the mid-sized car that you want? Or if they're out of mid-sized cars, do they turn off the mid-sized car price? Does every single location across the country participate in your corporate program, or are there non-participating locations? Again, are there unnecessary energy fees below the line adding to your costs? Are there blackout dates? Do they turn off one-way availability? Do they allow you to capture the market rate if it's better than your corporate rate? Do they help you in turning off the ability to purchase GPS or toll tag devices or refuel or satellite radio? When you put all of these together, what we tend to see is they make up an additional 40% of the out-the-door cost on a rental vehicle, and they're often forgotten in the course of a conversation. Another big thing that companies don't always consider, which can be a huge cost expense on car, is mileage reimbursement. If you're allowing somebody to drive their personal vehicle, would it be cheaper to say, don't drive your vehicle, get a rental vehicle instead? What is that threshold and that benchmark whenever the cost of a rental vehicle is now cheaper than putting mileage on a personal car? Some of the other benefits are, how do you reduce liability? Because if somebody gets in an accident in their personal car, who's responsible? Increasing employee satisfaction, because a lot of times employees don't want to drive their personal vehicle for business use, especially if they might own a lease. We have the newest vehicles on the market, all under warranty, all constantly being evaluated for safety and recalls and maintenance. So getting a rental vehicle tends to ensure that your employees are getting a safer new car. And there's an image issue. Having somebody getting a 2016-17 vehicle from us to go to a meeting might allow your company to have the better image than somebody pulling up in the 2002 vehicle that they might own instead. Companies, especially us, will be happy to conduct a free cost analysis to see if it's more beneficial to look at a car program versus mileage reimbursement, or what that break-even is for you. Once you've made that determination, you've talked to a provider, you've looked at potentially getting the car program in place, and you're ready to go, the last thing any corporate person needs to ensure is that they have in place a good implementation plan. Otherwise, all the work that you put in is for naught. Get an implementation guarantee from anyone that you work with. Have them guarantee you that they would be willing to have your program up and running by a certain date at a certain benchmark. Talk to them about how easy it is to get travelers enrolled in their loyalty program. Ensure that you can get free status matching for anyone that might have had a loyalty program with a competitor at a higher level. Talk about how easy it is to set up billing. Make sure that they partner well with travel on during this process to ensure that you are having all of your travel program managed appropriately and not piecemeal. A recommendation from me as a vendor, the more data you can get as a company, the better we can put a program together for you. Also, the more transparent you are in what you want and what you need, the easier it is for us to try and design a program that's going to work for you. Everything we do in our industry from a corporate standpoint is free. We don't charge you to put a car program in place. It's in our interest to put one that you're going to love and that your travelers are going to love and that they're going to want to adopt. To do that, we always encourage as much open communication as you can. Having the ability to sit down and have that conversation and explain any concerns that you might have allows us to help fix the program in a way that's going to be most beneficial for you. And finally, and most importantly, not all vendors are created equal. Not everyone in our industry is capable of providing the same benefit across the board. A lot of times people kind of wrap up that car rental, it is what, it's kind of easy and sweeping. Having the ability to bypass the counter is great. Most of us do it, but not everyone allows your travelers to choose their own car. Some of them choose the car for your travelers and then they get what they get. Not everyone allows you to be able to have insurance in your rate and have the security of knowing that no matter where you go in the country, if they get in an accident, you're covered. Because some locations are non-participating with a few people in our industry versus us, for example, which has 100% participation at all locations across the country. Not all refueling is the same. Some of our competitors try and make a profit on fuel. There are times where I've seen pricing in Los Angeles, for example, on a January where if somebody were to bring a car back with less gas than they got it, the price at one of my competitors was $14 a gallon. Looking at the entire program and understanding all of the intricacies of the competitors will ensure that you're getting a program that's truly built for you and with your best interest in mind, and not something that's going to pop fly you with a whole bunch of snags and snarls down the line. If you have a corporate program in place or you've established one and you've got it up and running, there is a next step in the evolution, an opportunity for your company to take their program and push it up beyond just business travel and renting a car. For us, we call it the total transportation solution. It's something that we encourage anybody to take a look at if they ever have ground transportation. This is what our total transportation solution looks like. Of course, we have car rental for business travel. We also have car share, which is an hourly car rental program, membership-based, for people who don't own vehicles or maybe only need to rent vehicles for a couple of hours at a time to drive, to a meeting down the road and back. We have truck rental, a commercial truck division that allows you to do towing-capable vehicles and box trucks for hauling, being able to service the needs of large equipment moving. Fleet management for any companies that own or lease vehicles, where we work with them to get better acquisition rates, better management rates, and better disposal rates of their vehicles so they can maximize the profit of their fleet across from beginning to end. We've recently launched in multiple markets, and more to come, a new exotics division, which includes Teslas, Maseratis, Range Rovers, Escalades, even a new 12-passenger decked-out Sprinter van for moving large groups of people on perhaps an industry tour around your area. The vehicles get sold to customers through our car sales division when we're done, using only the top 10% of the vehicles in our fleet to ensure they get the highest quality available. We work with, especially D.C., Virginia, and parts of Maryland to do a commuter rideshare program through Enterprise Rideshare, a van-pool program working as an alternative transportation into the district or work environment, allowing you to take advantage of special tax and state and federal tax subsidies for anybody who's interested. And for companies that have large campuses with people going into multiple locations, our newest product, Zimride, basically works as a connector for individuals traveling, allowing them to help share their personal vehicles to get from one destination to another. An evolution in transportation from the hourly rental to the long-term rental, the person in their personal car to the person just trying to get to work, all tied together under providers that are able to help consolidate your entire need for anything ground across the country. This is what we're looking at as the next step for any of our corporate partners, and something I would definitely encourage each of you to look at your companies and see if there's opportunities there to improve processes in one or all of these areas. That's all the information I have to go over today. I'd like to end just by thanking all the participants, and especially Travelon, for allowing us the opportunity to speak to all of you. We're always excited to have new partners and vendors on board, and we definitely appreciate you taking the time to learn about us, learn about our industry, and I will let Sean finish it off and then look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I'm just going to highlight two topics that you reviewed today. At a recent BTN event in March for the Business Travel and Trends we attended, there were a lot of travel managers in the room representing probably 50 travel managers of all headquartered Washington, D.C. metro area locations, and two topics came up that were exclusive really to car rental, and one was mileage reimbursement, and Nick did a great job explaining how that is probably the most overlooked cost for ground transportation for a company. We were speaking to many in the room, and they were saying that a lot of their employees are averaging about $15,000 in expenses per year that they're getting reimbursed for driving their own personal vehicle, and how that could, by renting a vehicle, could have saved their company so much more money, increase the image of the vehicle that the employee is driving, along with decrease their liability risk. In 2012, for the Commonwealth of Virginia, we created a rental mileage reimbursement package for them, and basically they set the parameters that anything over 80 miles, they had to produce the mileage calculator and show that driving their own personal car was going to be more economical than renting a vehicle. In 2012, at the end, in December, we ran the numbers and showed a cost savings for the Commonwealth of Virginia at $1.5 million in the first year. They followed that up with multiple million-dollar savings year after year. So it's definitely something that we encourage all companies to look at and see if there's an opportunity to save your company money. The second part that was really interested, and actually was a heated topic in that, was it was back to the ride-hailing and really looking at the duty of care, and not only just ride-hailing, but also Airbnb. So those are two things that you're going to want to look at and really just come up with a descriptive policy for your company when it comes to those, and make sure that the company that you are working with does have duty of care taken care of for you and can help you make sure that in this day of age you can find your employee where they're at all times. So I'll end it there. I want to, again, just like Nick said, thank you for joining, and at this point we'll kick it back over to Elizabeth.
Thank you, guys. That was great, and I do actually have quite a number of questions that have come in for you. So the first one says, would you please repeat what the difference is between rideshare and Zimcar?
I'm going to let Sean handle that. He's even better versed than I am in that specific market.
Well, rideshare is a commuter option, so that's where we would provide a van to your employees. The company does not necessarily have to be financially responsible for anything to do with the rideshare program or the van itself, but we find ways to save your employees money commuting to work. We free up parking. We work really close with this with the Human Resource Department or the Operations Department, anyone that's handling parking. So if your company today has any parking concerns, we look to help provide a van. This van could be a minivan, could be a hybrid SUV, could be a 12 or 15 passenger vehicle, could be where we would add in coach seats, Wi-Fi, so that the employees can get to work stress-free. We work with a van coordinator with each vehicle, and they take responsibility for the keys and so forth, and the payment as they collect from the rest of the riders. So basically, you have, let's say gas is $4, you have 10 people in the van, they are now traveling for 40 cents a day, or 40 cents a mile on their gas. So it's really a nice way to save them money. They can use their hot lanes. Anything more than 3 people in a vehicle and the occupancy will, it's free to travel the hot lanes. As far as Zimride is a tool that we offer, and Nick used Campus, but we work really close with universities or any company that has a lot of employees that it allows them to use this product to match or do route matching. So if, let's say, you have an employee that is traveling to Cleveland this weekend, they would promote that within your company only and say, hey, I have 3 seats that I'm traveling there. It's going to cost me $100 to travel, and then they work out the arrangements with the money or however they want to do that. But it's not for them to make money, but it's more for them to share the cost and expense. And we do that. We use Zimride also for matching commuter routes for your employees to travel to work or from work, and set up carpools within your organization.
Okay, great. Thank you for that explanation. Next question. Do you have locations in China?
Yes, we do. We have a strategic partnership in China with an existing Chinese company called Ehai. And Enterprise went into kind of a merger with Ehai. So the vehicles that we offer in China are not branded as an Enterprise national vehicle. It's branded as an Ehai vehicle in strategic partnership with Enterprise. One key difference in China is that you have to have a Chinese driver's license in order to rent a vehicle. So when getting a vehicle from Ehai in China, it comes with a driver. Outside of that, I can't speak with too much more authority right now, but if anyone would want more detailed information, I would be happy to connect with them and get more in specific on that market.
Okay, well, excellent. Next question. What percentage of your locations are for Enterprise versus National versus Alamo? Your total together was #1 in the market over the other 2 major families, but how does it break down among your 3 brands?
Enterprise is about 5,500 locations, I believe, nationwide. We are at every major airport on the Enterprise brand in the country, and then we're also all over the non-airport market. 90% of the United States population lives within, I believe, 10 miles of an Enterprise rent-a-car. And then Enterprise has the free pickup drop-off service. So we focus the Enterprise brand on the off-airport market, even though they are at every major airport as well. National Car Rental started in the airport market, grew up in that market, and we've kept it close to that market. National is at every major airport, all top, I believe, 500, in the country. Definitely in every top 200. And we're also in major train stations around the country with National Car Rental. There are a few off-airport, non-train station national locations, but for the most part, they are centered around major transportation hubs. Alamo has always been kind of a partner with National, existing in tandem in most of their locations. So you'll tend to see Alamo a lot at airports as well, and other major transportation hubs. We also have Alamo as a preferred provider for a lot of government. So you'll start to see over the course of time more Alamo locations near major government hubs and military bases. But if you were to break down the numbers, about 1,000 locations, 1,000 locations roughly on the Alamo National combined, about 5,500 on the Enterprise combined, servicing pretty much every major market in the country.
Can you update them, Nick, on the newest location? national,
Which location? I'm sorry.
Southwest DC.
Oh, yes. That is one of the very first national locations we've done that are not at a major transportation hub. But we have launched a Home City National Car Rental location on D Street Southwest in Washington, D.C. We're looking at taking national car rental into the Home City market here and there, but we're placing it only in places where we know there's a large concentration of loyalty members, specifically allowing business travelers who do have that regional travel need to get similar experience to what they've had at the airport, where the transaction times are faster, the car choices are easier, etc.
Great, thank you. Next question. Do you have a metric where, I think what this means, do you have a metric where it would be recommended for an arriving passenger at the airport to consider an off-airport location instead of picking up a car at the airport?
Sure. What I typically would say to any of my corporate clients is you look at it in terms of lengths of rentals, because there is always going to be a little bit of the soft cost of the annoyance of having to leave the airport. However, there tends to be a lot of financial benefit. In my history, I ran Reagan Airport for 2.5 years. Reagan Airport adds an additional 15% in out-the-door costs to every rental that flows through that airport, regardless of which provider. So if you're in a car for 3 or 4 days, 15% is annoying, but reasonable. If you're in a car for a week and a half and longer, it might be worthwhile to encourage your traveler to go off airport to save that 15% in taxes and fees. Much less than a week and a half, the hassle of getting off airport to save that money might not be worth the financial savings. The only thing is that we are not allowed to come onto an airport property to pick a customer up if we already have a location on airport property. So getting from the airport to the off location would have to be done either through a hotel shuttle, taxi, Uber, something to that effect. That's why usually 10 days and above is my benchmark.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you. Next question. Is the Trip Optimizer available for public use, or must we contact your company in order to use it?
In order to get the mileage calculator that we put together, that would have to flow through a member of our sales team. It is a free tool, but it's not on a website or available for the public to just get access to.
Okay. Is the mobile app accessible if the reservation was booked by Travelon?
Yes. As long as it was booked with the Emerald Club ID in the reservation, so that the mobile app can recognize that the Emerald Club member has a reservation in place.
Is there a cost to use the in-car technology?
No, there's no cost to use any in-car technology, with a few key exceptions. Satellite radio does have a cost because Sirius charges us, so there's a pass-through cost that goes with that. If you buy the travel tab at the time of rental, which the travel tab is like a micro tablet that has different games and pieces that might enhance the travel experience, it's completely optional, but there's a cost associated with that. If the car does not have a built-in GPS and you decide to purchase a GPS unit, there's a cost associated with that. Bluetooth, the geocoding we have in our vehicles, Android Pay or Android Auto and Apple AutoPlay, there's no fees associated with that on our end.
Okay. Next two questions I'm going to ask you is one two-part question. Part one is, do you have a small business rewards type program? And part two is, what is the threshold spend to consider having a car rental agreement?
I'm going to reverse the answers on that and answer the second one first and the first one second.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite questions and also one of my favorite statements from a corporate account, because I have walked into companies and said, how much do you spend on car rental, and got the response, oh, we don't spend very much. We only spend $500 a year. And I said, okay. And then I've walked into another corporate account, true story, and said, how much do you spend on car rental? And they said, oh, we don't spend very much. We only spend $1 million a year. So small business is really kind of in the eye of the beholder when it comes to this in terms of revenue, because it depends on your travel program. From us, we look at it and say, if you're going to spend more than $15,000 a year, then you would qualify for a negotiated program through our business rental department. If you're spending under $15,000 a year, and Elizabeth, you're familiar with this, Travelon has a Travelon specific discount code that is designed to allow you to get certain benefits similar to a corporate program for smaller businesses, 0 to 15K. And we would encourage you through your Travelon partnership to take advantage of that code. Anything over 15K a year, though, we should be able to customize in a way that would add enhanced benefits and tracking for your specific company.
Wonderful. And last question, save this one for last. Please talk about how you can manage extraneous charges that should not be allowed, such as GDS, fuel, insurance, satellite radio, etc.
Sure. A lot of that's technology and software programming, and then some of it's just, people doing the right thing through partnerships that we've established. At airport locations, the computer program that we utilize has the capability of blocking the sale of individual ancillary products. We also have the capability of allowing the sale, but blocking it from being on your billing. So you can say, we will pay for the car rental, but we will not pay for satellite radio. And that way, if the traveler would like satellite radio, they're welcome to purchase it, but they're required to provide their own method of payment for that particular product. All of that's controlled through the software built into our computer programs. And we can put that into the contract on there from a legal standpoint, showing that we will block the sale of some different products depending on what they are and where they are. Outside of that, if in some way, shape, or form we put a block in place and somebody finds a way to override it, especially on a billing solution, we will work with the local office and let them know, per the notes and the agreements that we have with this account, this charge is not allowed, and we force the local office to issue a refund for selling the product that they weren't supposed to sell. That doesn't happen often. It can happen, but not very often. Usually the notes and blocks that we put in place are capable of handling that.
Hey, one thing, let me add to that, Nick, is one thing that we make sure that we immediately during our implementation, and this could be an account that spends $6,000 or more, we assign an account manager to your account. And they will work with you guys if anything pops up, as it always does in travel, whether it's ancillary sale, whether it's you need a special request on a type of vehicle, you need black on black SUV in Colorado, you will be assigned an account manager, and they're located here for any of our accounts that are headquartered in the Washington metropolitan area. They're located right in Rockville, Maryland, where I have a team of 5 individuals who handle each one of your accounts whenever you need. They're at their desk, they're ready to handle any request that comes up, any concern that comes up, and their response time is amazing.
Great. And actually, I lied. One more question has come in. What is the threshold for considering a car refueled?
Considering a car, oh, I know what you mean. That's an interesting question because it depends on who you're talking to in the industry. Our policy from Enterprise Holdings standpoint is that we want to be open, upfront, and transparent in our pricing. We don't try and make a profit on fuel. Fuel is the cost of doing business for us. When we rent a vehicle at airport locations, they're supposed to be full. We check it, make sure it's full. If for whatever reason it's not, let us know. When you bring it back, you bring the car back how you got it. The way we verify that is we sit in the car and we look at the gauge, and if it looks full, it's full. We don't require you to bring a receipt proving that you put gas in it, or else we're going to charge you a $15 fee. Some of our competitors do that. We don't. All we ask is you bring it back with the same amount of gas as how you took it out. If somebody's in a hurry and they end up bringing the vehicle back with less gas than what they ended up taking it out on, we will never charge more than the pump price plus 50%. So if gas is $2 a gallon, we're not going to charge you more than $3 a gallon. And that's to make up for the cost of gas and to make up for the cost of the employee that needs to take the car to the gas station to go fill it back up again. We don't charge $14 gallon refuel fees, because to us, that's moving your profit out of your base rate into these hidden, below-the-line, unnecessary fees, and that goes against the pricing transparency we work hard to maintain throughout our industry, or our company.
Excellent, and thank you. That truly was the last question. So thank you, Nick and Sean, for your very informative presentation today, and thank you to our audience as well for your time and participation. The webinar has been recorded and it will be available for replay starting tomorrow. If anyone has additional questions or would like more information about a car rental program, please contact your Travelon account manager. Also, mark your calendars now for next month's presentation. It will be June 14th at 11 a.m. and the topic will be sourcing and managing small meetings. Registration information will be available starting the first week of June. Again, thank you everyone, and please enjoy the remainder of your day.